Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio. This week I'm joined by Jordan Stachini. Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
For having
In the
me.
tune.
In the tune, which is beautiful, by the way. Stunning. No one told me that you need a gold Duke of Edinburgh to get around it, though. The hills. I had to nip out last night, and I thought I'll just nip into town. Nipping is hard here, isn't it? There's hills.
Think?
Yeah.
I think you just get used to it, maybe.
Maybe you do, yeah. But no, beautiful. And with the weather we've got at the moment as well,
yeah,
stunning.
Rare moment in the sunshine for the tune, so we will take that. Cool. I've got lots to ask you about, so excited to get stuck in. So you describe yourself as a Guinness-loving, least fluffy marketeer. So where's that come from? And do people refer to that when you're out and about?
So the least fluffy kind of side of it comes from my kind of commercial background. So I've always described myself as a very commercial marketer, ROI obsession at the heart of everything. And I think that comes from my in-house roles. And they were in really intense sales environments. So the marketing and the sales were obviously very linked, and there wasn't much room for fluff. It was how are we going to make, the leanest marketing strategy we can to maximise sales. So that's kind of where that's come from. And that's kind of followed me throughout my career, to be honest, with that. It's all well and good making something that looks great, but ultimately if you can't track how it's going to work and ultimately the value it's going to provide, why are you doing it? So that's kind of the ROI piece. The Guinness piece is, I just love it. I absolutely love it, yeah. And I think, and obviously we're going to talk about personal brand, but the number of people that I get messaging me on LinkedIn and stuff to say, oh, I've seen this or I've seen that. Do you fancy going for a Guinness? And, can talk about it. So a lot of our deals and a lot of our clients come off the back of a Guinness.
Nice. Have you been to the Guinness place in Dublin?
I have been there more than once. We actually, we took the team to Dublin for our Christmas do last year, and took them round the Guinness factory. I love it. There's actually a job that you can do at Guinness where I think it's at 10 o'clock every day. They go and taste the brew. I would happily do that. What a job that would be.
Great side hustle for
you. Fantastic. Yeah,
I think
you've only got to do it at 10 o'clock every day.
That would be 10 a.m. Set you up.
I've had it earlier.
Sounds good. So when you talk about the ROI stuff, like what kinds of things are you measuring?
So that's a really interesting question. It's one that we talk about a lot with clients. And the other thing for me about ROI is not always about money in, sales out, because ROI needs to be tied to what your objective is. So if your objective is to increase footfall, then that is an ROI you can measure. How much money are you going to put in for that activity? How are you going to measure it? And then what is the result that you get out at the end? The same with website views, content downloads, people signing up to a mailing list, events sign-ups, whatever it is. If you are investing money into an activity, then you can track it and you can track the return on that investment. So this is kind of one of the other barriers that we try to break down with people, in that when you're talking about ROI, I have a saying that all sales are conversions, but not all conversions are sales. A bit like all jacuzzis are hot tubs, but not all hot tubs are jacuzzis. So yes, sales are a conversion, but they're one type of conversion. If you only chase that type of conversion, you're missing out on a massive part of the market that aren't ready to transact, but will do at some point. And if you don't buy ultimately their loyalty earlier on in the journey, they're not going to come to you when they're ready to make that decision. So that is the big other piece for me about ROI that a lot of people kind of seem to miss. They just go straight to that sale.
That's so interesting. So you're finding you're having to guide clients quite a bit to see that bigger picture and the different touch points?
Yeah, definitely. And also trying to help them to understand what is it you're actually trying to achieve, and then roadmap that out for them. So, we've got a client right now who they're in the property space. They don't actually have a product coming to market till like a month's time. But we started working with them a year ago, building all their socials, building a database, building awareness essentially around the brand. And now that they're ready to take it to market, they've got a captive audience. Perfect. So it's that's what it is really. It's helping people to understand, okay, this might be your final objective, but to get there, this is the map we have to go on. And that's the strategy part, right? Otherwise, it's just sales.
Exactly. Interesting. So you obviously run a brand-focused agency. How different is the advice that you give to a company brand versus a personal one?
It's an interesting question, and largely it is the same in that the first thing we say is you don't actually get to decide what your brand is. Other people will decide it. You can influence it. You can, try and persuade someone that you're one way or another. But a bit like people, you can only pretend to be something for so long. I could sit here all day with you and pretend to be the fucking Easter Bunny. I'm not. Over time,
that would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. But over time, you'd see, I'm not that, as are most people aren't that. So that's the first thing that we kind of try and lay out. But really, the core concept of a brand is the same, whether it is a person or whether it is a company, because it's a set of values, it's a proposition within the market, it's a way of speaking, it's a way of communicating, it's a way of presenting yourself against the competition, and that is no different whether you are a person or a product. We tell everybody, everyone is washing powder, so why pick you over someone else's? And it's almost harder actually sometimes with a person when you're doing this, because it's them, and you're more precious about yourself, and it's more, personal, like literally it's more personal. So that can sometimes be a little bit of a barrier to overcome, in that you're not that special, but let's find the bits that are, because that's the thing that we really need to hook onto. But yeah, ultimately, a brand and what sits at it is fundamentally the same for us across product, business, person, whatever.
I think that it's an ongoing debate, isn't it? That whole company versus personal brand. And I mean, you've got to have both, and both are different yet the same. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I know some people feel more comfortable than others with that. Yeah. So you're based in Manchester, and you've got a very northern, no nonsense vibe, which hard relate for that. How has being in the north, and in particular in Manchester, shaped your approach to your brand?
So I think the first thing that normally shocks people when I meet them is that I'm not northern. I'm very southern. However, I do caveat that with my mum's from Yorkshire, my dad's from Manchester. I'm from good stock, and I came back as soon as I possibly could. So I was really held captive down south for 19 years is how I describe it. But I think and I don't think it's a Manchester thing, I do think it's a northern thing. There is less preciousness about things, and there is a real identity to being northern, and I think we really lean into that. So we have a massive statement on our wall in the office. It says you can keep your blue sky thinking we were born in Manchester where great things happen in the rain. And it's kind of that, you just have to fucking get on with it, and that's very much my mentality, and therefore is the mentality of the business. And it's interesting what you said before about that crossover between a personal brand and a business brand. At the very beginning, co&co was just me, so it could be my brand. But I think business owners have a real role to play in shaping what the brand looks like as that business grows, because it does still very much hinge on you. But that kind of no nonsense, the no fluff, not going to just do something for the sake of it, that's something that we really look for in the people now when we're recruiting. They have to be that type of person. And that's not just a brand thing. That's how I want the business to run thing. I want people who aren't full of shit, basically, because there's enough people out there. How
do you assess for that when you're hiring someone?
So we have quite frank conversations with people, to be
Are
honest.
you a dick?
Yeah, are you a dickhead? Well, I look for certain things. So for me, I want to know that people have done their homework to start with. It's the same with a client, to be honest. So an inquiry will call in or whatever, and the first question I ask is, have you had a look at our website? Because if you don't like how that's written, you're going to fucking hate working with us.
It's not gonna work.
And it's very similar to the people that come in. That is who we are. We are all of those things. So I look for that. I look for, have you done your homework? Have you gone the extra mile in trying to sell to me ultimately, because you want this job? And also, I think you can just get a feel for someone's personality, can't you? And how I'm speaking to you now is how I speak to everybody, whether they're a client, whether it's an interview, whatever. How someone reacts to that and what they give back to you, I think, is a tell as well. So, it's probably more of a vibe check. I mean, my team would call it the pint check. But again, a lot of our interviews are done over a Guinness.
Love it. So if you can't drink Guinness, then you're out.
Or you can learn.
Yes, it's a skill. It's definitely a skill. I remember having my first pint of Guinness. I must have been about 16, and yeah, it was like the cool drink at the time.
Come back round though, hasn't it? It's like the most. I think it sold the most last year out of any beer in the UK or something.
Lots of iron.
Loads of iron.
Good for you. Can you share a moment where your personal brands helped you to win something? So maybe a client, an opportunity, or just something cool that's happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest kind of example I can give is the number of inquiries that we get through my own LinkedIn. And it is people saying to me, I've followed you for, never overestimate a LinkedIn lurker is what I would say.
100%.
I've followed you for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I really like your approach to stuff. And I'd really like to have a chat to you about this. Or a lot of the time we get, listen, we've been working with this person for X amount of time. It's just not working. I've seen what you're about. I've had a look at the website. I like your approach. Can we have a chat? Normally, can we go for a Guinness? And that's it really. But the reason that that's my personal brand working for us is because I'm not just going out there and having in a bio line that I'm not full of shit and, I like Guinness and I'm ROI obsessed. I demonstrate it through the content that I put out. And then that's why you get people saying, I've followed you for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Actually, I've seen that you deliver on what it is that you do and now I want to have a conversation with you. So, yeah, that's really the biggest example I can get of the wins.
And would you say that your biggest lead generator is your personal LinkedIn?
Yeah, definitely.
It's so interesting.
Definitely.
I think I'd say the same for us at the moment. It kind of differs because we do lots of stuff, like we're at events, I speak at a lot of stuff. Obviously we've got LinkedIn, we've got our mail list, all these different things. And for a long time, going to awards ceremonies was our biggest lead generator. We're not going to as much stuff now because we're not putting ourselves forward at the moment, but that was always really great for us. So at the moment, I would say it's LinkedIn. And it's so funny you saying that about someone getting in touch as the lurker, because that's the classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've had like loads of those, and a really good one recently where someone who never liked, not that I'd noticed anyway, maybe they had, but someone that I'd never noticed liking any of my stuff, they definitely hadn't commented because I would have picked up on them. They'd never messaged me. And then it was a chance conversation with someone from her team at an event who then brought me in to do some work with their whole team. And then I'm sat with this HR director and she's like, oh, I was so excited when, I heard that you were going to come in and do this with us because I followed you on LinkedIn for 4 years and I love what you do. And I was like, have you?
Yeah.
Like, where have you been? Where have you?
Yeah.
Although now that we've had that in-person connection, she now does like my stuff, so that's quite interesting. But yeah, that whole lurking thing, or people will just get in touch out of the blue, and I don't know if you find the same thing, but the post that prompts that interaction or them getting in touch tends to be nothing that's related to why they get in touch.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'd hazard a guess that the thing that they're getting in touch about, or the post that makes them get in touch, is something that's a bit more personal and shows a bit more of you. Because this is one of the things that we talk to people about, especially when we're talking to people building personal brands, is you have to build two things. You have to build credibility and rapport. You build credibility through evidence in what you've done. You build rapport by being you. So, the least interesting thing about someone is what they do for a job. And we say to people, if you stop doing that job tomorrow and you went and did the complete opposite, how would you describe yourself? What would you say about yourself? Because that career that you would have led with before no longer exists. You've been in a new job a day, so that's not your identity. So what else would you say? And it's those personal things. You and I could sit here for 12 hours. We would bond more over our shared experiences, whatever that might be that comes out of the chat. The least that we would bond about is what we do for a living. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I often find that the posts that get people to interact with me are ones where they're a bit more human and they show me as a person, because that's the decider between, if someone buys into you, they will buy from you. I genuinely believe that. So it's finding that hook of someone going, they're like me, therefore I like them and I want to work with them. You've done all the evidence and stuff in the other posts, but that one post that talks about your experience as a mum or a single parent or a businesswoman, or, the fact you've got a dog, like, bloody hell, that dog's got more inquiries for me than anything. But, it's those things that make someone go, I identify with that person now, so I'm going to interact.
Have you changed the way that you talk about all those things from when you were in a business versus being a founder of your own business?
So when I was in a business, having your own presence wasn't a thing.
Okay.
It was very much, LinkedIn was a jobs board in my opinion back then. And that's certainly how I saw it. I didn't keep up to date. I didn't post. I very rarely went on it. It's like my most interacted app now. And I think it's something that has become more of a thing over the last couple of years. But I think the gap still is that businesses are leaving value on the table by not investing in and empowering their staff to engage. You know, I hear it all the time. Well, if I get them to engage on LinkedIn, I get them to create personal brands or whatever you want to call it, a profile, then someone will snap them up and leave.
Yeah.
No one is going to leave a business because they posted on LinkedIn. They're going to leave because the culture's shit. They're not trusted. They don't feel valued, and they're not empowered. Yeah. So if you treat people like mushrooms, keep them in the dark and feed them shit, they're not going to be happy. It has nothing to do with, oh, I posted on LinkedIn. If they post on LinkedIn and someone approaches them about a job and they go, it's not because they post on LinkedIn. It's something within your business or their personal circumstances that aren't being catered for that will make them leave. So you only have something to gain, I think, as a business. And, you know, that's not just me saying it as someone that sells this shit to businesses. It's fact. You know, content by an employee is 25% more likely to be engaged with, shared, interacted with, everything. They get more impressions, they grow faster, they're trusted more by people. You know, a business page on LinkedIn, most businesses fall into that trap of they post their end of year results or, you know, a massive award win or something that makes the business look good. No one gives a shit about that. It's important, I guess, from the perspective of showing that you're doing well. But actually, the real value comes when the company amplifies the individuals and the individuals amplify the company.
Totally agree.
That's how it works. The company needs to be talking about the people that make the business run. And the individuals, if they believe it, need to be talking about how great of a business it is to be involved in. Then someone comes on, does their due diligence before an interview or whatever. They're going to see all this good stuff. The other thing is you have to, you know, if you want to think about it commercially, every single person in your business is a route to market. Anyone who's been in a sales environment before will know you could have a sales team of 10 people. They will all be totally different and their customer bases will be totally different because humans are different. You'll get really pragmatic salespeople who naturally get really pragmatic customers. You'll get the salesperson who'll go through every single inch of detail and they'll want to show them and they'll want to, you know, take the long road with them. They will sell to people who want that touchy-feely thing. So it's the same with LinkedIn. You have to, you know, commercialize your team and create all these routes to market, because when someone comes onto LinkedIn, they're not just going to look at one profile, they're going to look at another and another and another. And you see it yourself on your own. You know, people who looked at your profile also looked at da-da-da-da-da. And I love it when I see people who looked at your profile also looked at everyone else at co&co, because I think that's what you're meant to do. That's it working.
It's just a no-brainer, isn't it? And I get hear this a lot from people who are worried about a lot of those things that you've just said. And for me, it's like, you've got X amount of people in your team. Why would you not want them all raving about being here? I mean, a bit more subtle than that, but you go from having 10 lurkers in the team posting now to having 10 people posting at least once a week. Amazing. Like straight away, the perception is they're everywhere. I just don't get why people don't do it. What's your advice if people, and I think you do see this more within more corporate businesses who have that view that, oh, if I post on LinkedIn, it makes me really self-promotional and that feels a bit ick.
So the first thing that we get with anyone we sit down with, whether it's a team, whether it's an individual, is, what if I say the wrong thing? And that's everyone's concern. So, or what will people think? That's another big one. My response to that is, everyone is worried what everyone thinks. No one is thinking about you. So we're all sat there going, oh, what if they think this? What if they think that? We don't actually think anything. I can't think of the last time I saw something posted on LinkedIn and thought, they're a dickhead, or apart from the usual, quit your 9 to 5 and follow me for 10,000 million pounds in 2 minutes. They're dickheads. But I mean, other posts that people are talking about themselves, something personal. I can't think of the last time I thought, you dickhead,
And I don't think people are that mean on LinkedIn overall. I mean, I get the odd thing, but overall, people are quite nice. And I think if they aren't interested, they just don't engage. They just scroll on by. It's completely fine.
I think the thing that we often get more than not with when we're talking to people that are employees within a business is, how do I create my own brand, if you like? And I don't love that term, to be honest. It's more of a profile, I think.
Yes.
How do I create my own profile within the parameters of the brand that I'm part of? And the way I describe it is, if you think of Heinz has ketchup, mayo, sandwich spread. Do you remember sandwich spread? Mustard,
was that
spaghetti hoops.
orangey,
It was like a with like little bits of cabbage in or something.
Blah.
Yeah. Don't know why that was a thing, because it's pretty gross, isn't it?
Well, it's obviously not a thing anymore.
Yeah, obviously not very much a 90s throwback, that. Yeah, so they have all these different products, from spaghetti hoops and sausages right through to ketchup. If you are a Heinz customer, you can buy ketchup and not like spaghetti hoops. It's exactly the same with individuals within a business. If you think of your business as Heinz, and let's say we work for the same business, you could be spaghetti hoops.
You could be the sandwich spread.
I could be the sandwich spread. Now,
Unlucky.
but you know what I mean. And there will be people going, "Oh, sandwich spread. I wouldn't ever eat that." But they'll lap up, spaghetti hoops. So it's the same thing. Like, you have to think about the brand you work for as a brand, and you are a product of that brand. So what are you offering as your product? Because it will be different to the next person and the next person. Mainly through that personal side of it, through the shared experience, through what you do within the business, how you do the business. Just because you do the same job as somebody or you work in the same business doesn't mean you are the same offering.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm a convert, obviously, but it's interesting to hear that analogy, because I think that'll be really useful for some people watching the show. So one thing that I really want to ask you about is, you set yourself a challenge to go on 12 podcasts.
Yes, I did.
Across the year, or
this year? Yeah.
Okay. Tell us why you set yourself that challenge and how you're getting on.
So last year I set myself a target of doing 3, and I did 6.
Nice.
And then this year I thought, okay, I can't do 6 again, so I'm going to need to up it. And the reason for that is, and it's all to do with my personal brand and the things that I talk about. And it's about creating and using other streams to create your content and to get your message out there. And again, it's no different to marketing. You have a product. The first year, you might be all about organic social, and it's all organic social, it's all organic social, it's all organic social. The second year, you introduce PPC, or you introduce SEO, or you introduce something else. It's just the next layer to the strategy.
Yeah.
And it's also about going and speaking to like-minded people who share an audience about the things that you care about as well, and it creates additional content. So when we're talking to people about their personal brand, and it might be that it's LinkedIn, it might be that it's Instagram, whatever the platform is we identify as the best kind of digital shop window for them, might be a couple of them. We will say, okay, for a period of time, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build your audience here. We're going to go through a bit of test and learn, and we're going to see what works. Then we're going to move into another phase where we're going to kind of go out there, and we're going to look at podcasts. We're going to look at other opportunities where we can get your message out there and then bring that message back in and amplify it. So it all just starts to become a bit of a vacuum, really. And that's really kind of I thought, I can't keep harping on to clients about this. And they're not got to practice what you preach. Exactly.
And have you found that you've had a result from being on podcasts?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
And I think the result that I have had is just naturally, because you're sat here talking to another person, that personal side is much easier to come across. So therefore, when you are talking about a topic like we are today, which is very much in my business world, I can do that in a way that is true to my tone of voice, the way I speak. I'm constantly talking analogies and all that kind of thing. So I can get the two kind of coming across together, which is sometimes harder, I think, when you're talking about business-related stuff, to also keep that personal side of it. It's really easy to just switch into work brain and be like whereas I find the personal stuff much easier to write about. But I've done a range of podcasts, ones like this where I'm talking about work stuff. I've done really personal ones where I've talked about fitness and wellness and kind of blowing my life up at 30 and everything else. But yeah, I think that they're a great platform, and I think that it's a great thing, as I say, to amplify and kind of put into a vacuum your content.
Have you thought about having your own?
So I get asked this all the time, and I have thought about doing my own, but it's the time. And like I would say to a client, if you're going to do it, you have to commit to it. It's like,
Agreed.
LinkedIn, we say to people, if you're going to do this, you have to commit. Consistency is key. You're going to spin your wheels for a long time. You're going to feel like nothing's happening, and then it will happen. So you have to stick with it. I
totally agree. And obviously that's something I would be advising our clients as well. We had Dan Priestley on the show. Actually, it was probably about a year ago now, because it was when he was here for Atomicon. And I was like, come on, you're here. So come on, dragged him up the hill. And we called the episode The Podcast Pyramid because do you know Dan?
Yes.
So he has not got his own podcast, and his strategy is around going on other people's and he's smashing that at the moment. He's probably like one of the most famous people on my phone at the moment, but he's smashing it with that. And I think he'd just been on Daravisio the first time when he came on, and he's been on it like 4 times now. And he talks about how, you've got the small podcasts at the bottom that maybe are just starting out, just have a few listeners. You can kind of work your way up this pyramid. It's a really good episode because he talks about why that's his strategy versus having that time commitment to doing his own. It's really good.
I like the idea of, talking to other people and things like that, but I like talking about different topics.
Mix it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't want to be saying the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the other thing about a really good podcast is that it is true to its audience and its content. And I worry that because I like talking about a variety of things, you could tune in any week and I could be talking about absolutely anything.
Yeah, but that's good. It keeps it fun. Jordan, it has been awesome speaking to you. If anyone listening or watching isn't connected to you yet, where's the best place for them to find you? LinkedIn?
Yeah, best place to get me on LinkedIn, Jordan Stachini, or weareco&co.com.
Awesome. We'll pop links to those handles in the show notes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, it would be mint if you could like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favourite platform. See you next week.